Hi, my name is Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is The Between, Jason Cordova's game of Victorian-era monster hunters. I am frantically skimming through my notes trying to find the part that I need right now. Excuse me. Um, this game was organised as part of the Gauntlet gaming calendar. If you're not familiar, the Gauntlet is an online community that organises plays and discusses a whole lot of role-playing games, especially Indian story games. And if you would like to find out more or come play a game with us, check out gauntlet-rpg.com. You can also find the Gauntlet on Twitter and Facebook, all over the podcast network, just everywhere. An amazing zine called Codex on Patreon, all kinds of things. That, I guess, is my main intro. So I'll ask now the players to introduce themselves and their characters. Maybe we'll start, just because you haven't been with us for a couple of sessions, with Jamie, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, hello. I'm glad to finally be back. Hi, my name is Jamie. I use they he pronouns, and I'm very happy to be playing the very. I feel like he's both really complex and really straightforward. Uh, Malik Al Kabir, the good doctor, playing the mother playbook. Malik is obsessed with um, I'd say obsessed with three things of equal measure, which is the daring American, the faithful Miss Reeves, and no big deal. The child that they're building out of dead body parts, like it's just very normal, very sane stuff. But yeah, so that's Dr. Malik, who is getting pretty close to building
Mm.
this child. We'll see how much I can do.
Yeah, I actually ran a one shot of The Between last week, and somebody played as the mother, and at the end of the session was just like, I'm just going to roll to see if I can animate the
No,
body.
what happened? What happened?
Even though he had the only body part he had at that point was the hand. So he rolled with disadvantage and successfully animated the hand, and then the session ended with him nursing the hand. It was amazing.
So good, so
The,
good.
so Blake.
Uh, yeah, g'day. I'm Blake. He, him. I'm playing Helena Henbury. She, her. Playing the vessel, who's like the group's mystic or psychic and into all things supernatural.
Cool.
Yeah.
Gabe.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabe. I use he/him pronouns, and I'm playing Jim Fletcher, the American, who also uses he/him pronouns, and is getting a little close on masks here. It's getting a little tight, so we'll see where that goes. And is known to the group now to be kind of a werebear situation. We got a good full Jim Fletcher bear last session mauling an enemy, and so we'll see what happens.
Amazing. And Joel, please.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Joel. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Reeves, the factotum, who uses she, her pronouns. She is in the employ of the mother, the great Dr. El Kabir, and is pretty much just kind of like the normal person who keeps stuff running.
The normal person. I think the normal person has some eyes for the doctor right now.
Maybe.
Great. So I just want to recap briefly where we're up to. I think that we finished last time sort of late afternoon, so I was thinking that we would pick up today just jumping right into the dusk phase, if that sounds right for everyone. In terms of where we're at with threats, of course, the threats tab in the Character Keeper has some more detail, the sort of questions and opportunities and things like that. But there are two sort of live threats at the moment that you're dealing with. The first is the Whateley Camera, a mysterious object that can somehow cause people to disappear, and which may be linked to a distant realm called the Fragrant Void. Done a little investigating there, and you've got a couple of clues. The second threat is the Creature of Cremorne Gardens, which is about sightings of some sort of fish monster at the carnival at Cremorne Gardens. And So far, it's not clear whether that's something sort of genuinely supernatural or just a hoax, but you haven't really had much time to look into that so far, so I don't think you have any clues on that one yet.
I just want to say, go us. We've done 4 threats because there's the James Street thing, the Limehouse Lurker, Figs Pigs, and the Coven. We rock.
Oh, yeah. You're doing all right?
And there's been no problems. Everything's been fine.
Everything's been so fine. Nobody's running out of masks. It's just looking real good, smooth sailing from now on. The part of the reason that you haven't made much progress on the Cremorne Gardens creature, though, is that you have been a bit distracted by growing awareness of the looming threat posed by Theodora Braithwaite, who is some sort of rival, reputedly a former lover of the Queen. It seems to have some sort of plot that is slowly unfolding in the background. And that sort of it more dramatically imposed itself on you last time when you discovered, or Reeves and Helena discovered, a room within Hargrave House that had been redecorated in her signature sapphire blue. And as we finished, Helena had experienced a vision in that room of Buckingham Palace exploding into blue flame. Which you may consider ominous, or you may consider appropriate justice for imperial crimes. I don't know which way we're going to go with that. Meanwhile, the liar Jim Fletcher has been invited to go hunting on the grounds at Braithwaite Manor. Sorry, Gabe, do you recall, we didn't set an exact time for when the invitation... So I think, let's say she likes to hunt by moonlight, so that will happen not tonight, but tomorrow night, if that works. Cool. I think that's everything that I wanted to say by way of recap. Of course, there's also the safety tab if you want to reacquaint yourself with the lines and veils. We also have the X card and the open door if you need to use them. I might just flag, I've had quite bad back pain this week and had to cancel a couple of sessions because I couldn't really sit at a desk long enough. I think that we'll be good today, but there is just a chance that I might need to open door a bit later. Yeah, any questions about the sort of current situation or anything in the recap that you wanted to add or go over? All right. I mean, obviously, if any questions come up, you can just ask any time. But Dr. Malik, I also wanted to find out a little bit about what's been happening with you over the last, couple of days that your character's been a bit absent. And I wanted to just offer you as a one-time opportunity, if your character has been collecting body parts for the child, you are welcome to just roll a d6 and acquire that many body parts.
What a gift.
That could bring you very close to animating the child.
Oh my gosh, wait, let me get to the... where's the dice room? I'm trying to...
open up the dice room as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is it? I think it's in the...
The link? Oh, it's in the chat.
Drop it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Right. I'm so excited. Wait. Let's see. So 1d6. Let's see how it goes. 5.
Oh, nice. So tell us about what 5 body parts you've acquired.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. It feels like...
and just bear in mind, the Reeves does have some eyes for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Joel, did Shane tell you how I thought of getting eyes? But I didn't know you got eyes from me already. You're psychically linked. I think... I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to go through the details of getting sex organs, so I'm just gonna those are the ones I'm gonna pick, right? I was a little I'm not so sure, but and feet. Ooh, yeah, feet, legs, arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a torso. I'll save the head.
Oh my god!
For last, right?
Only one body part to go.
And I think Malik has obsessively been trying to find, because up to this point, like Malik with his expertise could make do, but he needed to find a head that was at least of a similar facial structure.
Yeah, because you
right?
don't want to
And
use that criminal brain that you already have.
right? Exactly. Yeah, and I think like we just get these like shots of Malik just obsessively like calling in favors, going to morgues, talking to his resurrectionists, like just sort of like obsessed, right? Like, and that's why Malik has been gone for the last how many days, just obsessively working on this.
All right. So we will launch right into the dusk phase then to get things going. So we start by resolving any playbook moves or custom moves that are resolved during the dusk phase. Does Dr. Malik have either of the
right?
of the
So
resurrectionists?
last time I asked them to search for valuables. So that means that I'm going to. Oh, should I wait for? This is the problem when you come in the middle of a phase, right? Should I quickly say what I got from them and then activate this dusk phase again, or this dusk move again?
Sure.
Yeah, so I got the grave robbers will search for other valuables at night. During the dawn phase, ask another hunter what they found and add it to your personal quarters. I'll ask Miss Reeves. I feel like the resurrectionists know of our working relationship, and they gave you the valuables they dug up from other people. Can't bring it with you to the other life. Might as well have it. What do you think Malik got from them?
I think it's like a very personal rosary from someone. Like it's a rosary with like, oh God, I'm being a bad fallen Catholic. The like middle thing that like you can sometimes have engraved has like someone's initials on it. Maybe like it's just very clear that it was like specially designed for like one person in particular, and now it's like taken from them.
Oh yeah, I love it. Perfect.
And what will the resurrectionists bring for you tonight?
Oh, so tempting to ask her another body part. That's so close. Yeah, you know what?
Go for it.
Yeah, why not? I'm gonna treat myself. It's my birthday. I mean, it's not, but it feels like it. Yeah, I'm gonna ask them to acquire the last. Oh, but do I want? I want to do it myself.
Yeah, I wonder what specifications you would give old Harley White about what sort of head you require.
Yeah, right. Gosh. Okay. Yeah. I think what I'm going to do is, ask them to get a specific head, because I got news that someone died who looks kind of like the semi-famous person that kind of looks like my former lover. So totally reasonable. And the second thing is like, no complications, please. I'm so close to this child being complete. I can't ruin it now.
Mm-hmm.
The complications can come later, after the child is reanimated.
Well, I mean, I think the complication is the child being reanimated.
I was thinking that.
Gabe, can I get you to roll the quickening? And I'm not sure if you have any other dusk phase moves.
No, this is the one. So I think for today, we're going to try to reach out with sensitivity. And because I guess earlier in the day is kind of how it worked. Jim Fletcher went a little off his normal path by kind of leaning into the bear. And so kind of try to spiritually reach out to the woman that gave him the curse originally. See if he can kind of center himself that way. So we'll see what happens. Oof.
What do we get on a 7 to 9?
I get a condition. So I keep it in check, but just barely, and take the condition drained.
Right. You don't want to put a mask on?
kind of do, but I think I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let myself be drained.
Okay. And Joel, what's your dusk phase move?
I have two. I have the Ghost of Hargrave House, so I take a marked item from someone's personal quarters and then kind of like give it back changed a little bit. Let's see. Ooh, I think to complicate things for the American, I see he has wide brim. Or no, wait, no, that's given to Braithwaite's daughter. Never mind, he doesn't have that anymore. Oh, damn it. Let's see. What would be something fun? I will say from the vessel, the Book of Ancient Languages, maybe like
Okay.
Some of the blank pages have been filled in, but it's in like a new language that you don't understand, and you thought you knew all the languages that like were dealt with this language or with this civilization.
Interesting.
Then my second one is day work. So I spend most days caring for Hargrave House, tidying things up, managing accounts, answering calls, stuff like that. So during the dusk phase, I'll say I'm going to learn something interesting about an active threat. So I ask the keeper any question I like. They will answer truthfully and completely, or in the form of a clue, their choice. So I will ask about an active threat. If the mastermind's considered an active threat?
Not really, but if you want to
Okay.
ask about the mastermind, I'm okay with that. Let's do that.
I'm wondering, I think like after finding that room in Hargrave House, Reeves is probably like a little paranoid and is maybe doing some investigating about like, can she tell if this was redecorated recently? Can she figure out like how many people were here? Stuff like that.
So I think we established last time that it had happened since the others attended the ball at Braithwaite Manor, so fairly recent.
Okay.
You can definitely tell that this was not the work of one person. Probably a small crew of 3 or 4 could have set things up like this. Just thinking, is there anything else that you'd like to ask about her? I don't feel like that really paid off for you. Or I can look. I'm just thinking about whether there's a clue that I can add to that.
Is there maybe like anything that she finds in the room that whoever like put this in left behind or planted?
So at first you think that there's not, but Reeves has almost a sixth sense at this point for an item out of place, and so finally you notice just in the shadow in the corner where it almost can't be seen, there's a little blue gem just glimmering in the shadows. And that little blue gem will count as a mastermind clue if you want to add it to that column.
Yeah.
So I think that's everyone's dusk phase moves resolved. The next thing that happens in the dusk phase is that I pose a paint the scene question about about Hargrave House. Let's see. I think today we're going to be asking about the gardens. So being in the gardens is like being totally disconnected from the stink and grime of London. The question that I'm going to ask each of you is that reassuring to you, or does it make you feel uncomfortable, and why? So I'd love to start with Dr. Malik.
Ooh, sorry, could I get the question again?
the gardens have this feeling about them of being really disconnected from the ordinary stink and grime of London, of the big city. And do you find that sort of disconnection reassuring, or does it make you feel uncomfortable, and why?
Yeah, I think it does make Malik feel distinctly uncomfortable. It's like being separated from the rest of the world, and I think Malik is recently particularly obsessed with the idea of how things connect to each other, uh, and and so when he sits in the gardens, it's like he's in a completely different world, and he starts to disassociate, right, and forget where he is and what he's doing, and it makes him completely uncomfortable. So like I think he sharply gets up from the porch and tries to look around to see if anyone else is there.
Nice. Helena.
No, I think she thinks it's comforting. There's probably some like prunus plum trees there that the leaves change color each season, but they keep growing every year. So it's a reminder that things change, but things stay the same as well. So it's
Nice. Jim Fletcher.
Certainly comfortable in the gardens. Maybe wishing it was a little less well tended and a little more wild, but many an afternoon nap underneath the trees.
Nice. And Ms. Reeves.
I think Miss Reeves is uncomfortable in the gardens because like she's the one that hires all the gardeners and kind of manages that, and she just sees it as like the veneer of the grimy world that it is. Like she kind of sees past it a bit.
Nice. So, each of you will now tell me what your hunter wants to do during the upcoming night phase. So we're not in a position, I think, where you could resolve any of the threats or answer a question, really. But you're welcome to investigate them. You're welcome to have some vulnerable moves. You're welcome to do, some other business, whatever you'd like. Dr. Malik, what are you thinking of doing?
Yeah, so I'm thinking. It's been a while since I've been with Miss Reeves, so a vulnerable move with Miss Reeves would be interesting. I also have like several conditions.
Oh yeah, you were all stabbed and beat up, weren't you? That's right.
I have bloodstains stabbed in the back and just a flesh wound, so it's pretty.
I think last time, because a few days had passed in the game, I let everyone clear just one condition for free. So if you want to do that as well, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I'll remove the stabbed in the back, maybe. Just that feels like it makes the most sense.
But you just like to have some downtime with Miss Reeves, is that right?
Right.
At Hargrave House, or do you want to take her out somewhere? Like, what? I'm not sure what your vice is.
Oh my gosh, let me be before Malik falls into the deep end of his obsessions. I can be a gentleman. I will take out Miss Reeves, force her to. Clearly, this is not a date. It is very much a date. Yeah, Miss Reeves, where does Malik usually take you when he forces you to take a break?
I almost want to. I'm trying to think of something where it's like Malik thinks he's being very like generous and endearing, but like in reality, it's all about him. So
100%.
Yeah. Where would an obsessive doctor go to?
Ooh.
Like a medical lecture?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something like medical lecture,
So
but make it
rude.
romantic.
So rude. Yeah. I think like there's. Ooh, I don't know if this is what they. No, I think I remember. I did see some research. Those like operating rooms where people can watch from like high above, and so it's a lecture plus seeing an operation. Obviously, Miss Reeves would want to see, bodies being taken apart, right, for science. Like, this is very valuable to you.
Yeah.
I understand that you're incredibly grateful for me for bringing you here. So.
All right. So let's see. Helena, what are you going to be doing tonight?
I'm gonna have a chat with Scotland Yard.
Interesting. Okay, so Malik, and like, do you intend to contact someone specific at Scotland Yard, or just like rock up to a police station?
Well, I'm looking for what's his face. Is it Pettigrew?
Yeah, D.I. Pettigrew.
Okay. Yeah, try and find him. Since the others have spoken reasonably well of him, but yeah.
I see. And Jim, what are you doing tonight?
I think I would like to take a trip to the Society Obscura that was involved with this camera situation.
All right. And Miss Reeves, I just want to check, are you going to go along with the doctor, or is there anything else that you're wanting to do tonight?
She'll go along with the doctor. It's, she tells him that she enjoys it.
Jim, Helena would mention, we could have like a group photograph for us hunters if you want to tee up something for them to come to us later in the week or something. That can be
what I can do.
That can be a reason for why you're going there, sort of thing. And then
I like it. Thank you.
All right. So, oops, where am I? I don't think we have any unresolved Janus mask prompts that we need to resolve here. So, the last step in the dusk phase is that I will introduce the unseen. So, if you want to follow along, tonight's unseen will be a night at the Grand Guignol. Does anyone know how to pronounce that? Because I am not at all confident.
Oh my gosh, I have a friend who made a game that's called it uses that word, and I still forgot how to pronounce it.
We'll go with that.
We'll just go with that. The Grand Guignol. So if you want to follow along, that starts at I-21 on the London at Night tab. So every class of people in London is represented in the audience at the Theatre Grand Guignol. They have come to watch a production of The Laboratory of Hallucinations, a story of revenge. So, Dr. Malik, I will ask you to read out that first prompt there, and then you and everyone else to respond, because it's a paint the scene question.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as the limelights pop to life and the crimson curtain is raised, what do we see as we scan the stage that tells us this is the story of a mad scientist? Oh, I can't relate to that at all. I think that what we see on the stage that clues us in is there's like a huge portion of the stage, one that's just has these towering books that are haphazardly stacked, and we can see that there's this chalkboard behind the books where there's just complete gibberish. It's supposed to look like formula, but then it kind of descends into this Cthulhu kind of writing that's difficult to read.
Nice. Helena, what about you? What do you see on the stage that tells us this is the story of a mad scientist?
Lots of beakers of different shapes and sizes on tables and benches and stuff.
Cool. Jim?
Yeah, I'll say there's fake prop lightning. So big cutout painted lightning bolts going into various apparatus. Nice.
And Reeves?
Pretty much the whole set. If this was a TV show, that big side-by-side shots of the set, and then Malik's office, and they're pretty much the same thing. It's just kind of more caricaturized. So I think it's just parts of it are very disheveled. The waistcoats are just kind of piled up in one corner. The scientists, Miss Reeves hasn't gotten to them yet. Papers are kind of strewn about on the floor. And then it cuts to Malik's office, and the exact same thing is there.
Yeah, I was thinking that what we see is the entire contents of Malik's personal quarters just laid out on stage.
Mhm.
All right. So Malik and Miss Reeves, you are standing up in the gallery over the surgeon, the anaesthetized patient, the nurses, all around. So far, they are all dressed in pristine white surgical gowns. The blood hasn't started to flow yet, but the surgeon, uh, you know, half lecturing, half sort of performing for the audience, starts talking about disorders of the heart and the procedure that he will be demonstrating for you all tonight, and raises a scalpel. So, what do the two of you will the two of you just watch? Do you want to talk? Do you want to share advice? What's going to happen here?
Yeah, I caught how. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joel.
Oh, I think initially Miss Reeves is just very awkward about it. Probably more or less just she's taken a few swigs of her low brandy flask and probably knows better than to offer it to El Kabir. I'm guessing she's tried offering, some brandy to El Kabir one time during one of these, because this isn't the first time that he took her to it. And he may have huffed that, you have to keep a clear head during surgery or something.
And I think what happens is Malik actually from a pocket in their waistcoat takes out really nice brandy that they got especially for this occasion for you, right? So it's very expensive stuff. May have gotten it while getting some of the other body parts from someone who no longer needed it. So it'll be better off with you, Miss Reeves. And I think Malik just wordlessly hands it to you, takes away the cheap stuff that you have, and puts it in his pocket instead. No, just have this instead. But I think Malik says, now, Miss Reeves, I need you to come close and pay special attention. We're about to see something very, very special. And Malik reaches out an arm, but doesn't touch your shoulder, sort of just moves you closer towards the glass, so you can take a closer look. But
and
yeah,
as that happened, a gout of blood flies up and strikes the glass right in front of your faces.
So romantic. Perfect. And I think when that happens, Malik looks especially pleased and takes out a cigarette. Sort of it's a... You know what I'm going for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can both clear an appropriate condition here. And I suppose that it's Miss Reeves's vice that you're engaged in. So you have a choice there to stumble upon a clue, or to invite the other hunter to ask you about your past.
Oh my god. As much as I want El Kabir to ask me about my past, I also just want to find out how a clue shows up in an operating room.
Well, let's just be clear. That will be for you to say, because when you get a clue from the vulnerable move, you tell me what it is.
Okay.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so our threats are the Whateley Camera.
I mean, it could certainly be something that you overhear from one of the other audience members.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, maybe one of them's wearing a bit of blue. Sapphire blue or something. Or...
Yeah, if you want, I'll let you think about that for a minute and come back to your scene.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yep, that's good. All right. So, Helena, you have headed to Scotland Yard. Does anyone know, just in terms of setting the scene, does that mean you've gone to a local police station, or
no,
is
they've
there
got their own place?
Okay. So there's a big compound or something, a big building.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I think that they will have let you in. D.I. Pettigrew has perhaps left instructions that anyone asking about certain matters be allowed in to speak to him. So you reach his office. I'm just trying to find Here we go. He's still wearing a spotless tweed coat with his tidy little mustache, and he is puffing away at his pipe as he does some paperwork of some kind. He looks up and seems perhaps to recognize you. He says, hello, I'm D.I. Pettigrew. I don't believe I've had the pleasure.
Yes, my companions at Hargrave House spoke well of you. I come here looking for you. Is there, are we able to have a private chat here?
Please come in and close the door.
No, don't close the door. You say, I had a disturbing vision the other day, and I believe we may have similar goals and concerns.
Interesting. Do you often experience these visions?
I do. It's part of how I do my work. I realise it's not for everybody, or other people don't experience these sort of things as much or take them as seriously, but I do.
I wonder if you've heard of the emerging science of psychiatry. Might hold some benefits for you. But enough of that magic. Tell me of your vision.
She would stare at him for a second and say, in the vision, the palace exploded into flame. And she'd just look at him to gauge his reaction first.
His reaction, if any, is very muted. He makes a small note in sort of tiny and inscrutable handwriting.
And then I'll say, but the flames were sapphire blue. And I'm still just giving a good look at his face to see if there's any sort of reaction. Yeah,
he has a very English stiff upper lip, but there's a little twinge there as he makes the note blue sapphire flame. He says, I see. Have you seen any other visions involving blue sapphire?
No, but I did see that exact colour when I was partaking of a ball at Theodora Braithwaite's place roughly 1 week ago. Now,
you attended one of her balls?
Yes, the Hargrave House sort of group was invited.
He makes a note of this.
Now, I realise you and others may not necessarily take psychic things seriously, but I do. In my work, there are no coincidences. And I like the Queen. My father fought for her for 20 years. He received a Victoria Cross, which is not something I talk about, but I understand being a man of service, you would understand. I'm loyal to Her Majesty, and I believe you are too. And it would be negligent for me not to inform you of this thing.
Have you told anyone else?
Only Reeves, she's not a chambermaid, a seneschal, servant, mistress of the house. I don't know whatever her title is.
And do I understand that Hargrave House is interested in Lady Braithwaite?
She has piqued our curiosity. We were dealing with a group of, a cult, basically. And after we defeated them, she was there. And I believe her words were, thank you for averting their apocalypse.
Their apocalypse. Makes another note. Well, I can only urge you to exercise the greatest care. If there is any veracity to your visions, then clearly Lady Braithwaite is extraordinarily dangerous.
Well, I believe she has contacts in many places, so people of these officers should be careful as well, but I thought you should know.
He looks around almost like he's looking to see if someone is watching, even though you're alone in the office together, and he says, yes, your point is well taken. Blake, can I ask, are you wanting to trigger any moves here? Like, do you want to try and get a clue out of this, or is it more just about informing him and trying to get him on side?
Yeah, just trying to get him on side, because we may need to call for their help later if things go pear-shaped, which they usually do. That's how we work.
Accurate. All right. Well, we might wrap that scene there. And just think about, because we've got a fair bit of night phase left, think about what you might do with the later scenes. So, Jim Fletcher, heading to the Society Obscura. You what? Knock on the front door?
Oh yeah, just like I've been doing, kind of knocking a little bit too loud or too many times if it's a door knocker.
So it doesn't take too long before what looks to be a sort of young middle class woman comes and opens the door, peers out at you, says yes.
Well, hi there. I hear this is the place to go if somebody's interested in photographs. Is that correct? Did I find the right place?
She looks you up and down. She says, "Are you interested in modeling?"
I mean, well, kind of like fake blush, and I think that might be a possibility. I was hoping that we might be able to talk about do you contract out for photography?
Oh. Well, I suppose sometimes it's more of an artistic society, but perhaps, Portia and Cyrus might have something to offer. Would you like to come in?
I would. Would it be possible to talk to one of them? I do have a couple of questions about this whole thing.
Yeah, I think we have the perfect place for you to meet with them. And she leads you down a hallway. And you kind of get a glimpse through a couple of the doors that lead off this hallway that each of the rooms has been decorated so as to form like a stylized backdrop for particular kinds of photos. And she leads you into the American West room. A room in the Society's townhouse used for artistic photography but decorated to look like a Western saloon. But you sense that this room is not quite right. What feels off about it?
While most of the decorations are actually remarkably authentic, they sort of ran out and they just filled the space with stacks and stacks of books that would have no business being in a saloon.
Nice. So, the woman who brought you in has left to fetch someone. And after just a couple of minutes, a young man enters the room. He is shirtless, wearing only a loincloth, and he enters the room spraying perfume from some sort of bottle or decanter. And moments later, Cyrus Abernathy follows him in, almost sort of pausing to strike an entrance pose in the cloud of perfume. He's wearing this sort of form-fitting white bodysuit that is tight in all the right places, with these sort of odd silver cords wrapped around his arms, leg, and neck. He doesn't particularly look at you, but he says, "I believe you were interested in some photography arrangements."
Yeah, absolutely. That's a mighty fine entrance you make there, sir. I have a group of colleagues, and sometimes our membership shifts, and at any one time we like to get a portrait of the entire group, just to commemorate who's there right now. And but before we do that, I have a couple of questions just about this whole situation. I'm as you might tell, I'm not from England here, and I've heard tell that photographs can steal the soul. Is there anything truthful to that?
He continues to sort of gaze into the distance, and he says, "It's not the sort of question that I expected you to ask. But
I like being unexpected."
I'm sure you do. The soul. What is soul? Soul is a religious fiction, a fantasy of the past. But what do you think of parallel worlds? Do you believe in them?
Well, I don't think I'm entirely sure I know what you mean by parallel, but I certainly believe that there's things beyond what we know.
I sense this about you. I believe in parallel worlds, parallel threads in time. For example, the primordial past of this world, when old things walked. A time before there was light. I believe that time is still with us, floating alongside us, and that someday it may call out to us. To call this a matter of souls is a mundanity for the unwashed masses, and well, you may be unwashed, but you're hardly of the masses.
I feel like I should be insulted by that, but I think you're trying to pay me a compliment there. But I do know that, you know, this is all rather new, and you know, it seems like you folk do this quite often. So is there anything ever bad happen? Really, is what I'm trying to figure out, or is this a safe experience? And I would like to use the information move at this point.
Yeah, please.
I don't know what the relevant stat is here.
Well,
so
I guess with presence, right? You're like trying to talk it out of him.
I'll take it. Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Oh, well, we'll come back to you and find out what the result is on that.
Great.
So let's do our next paint the scene prompt. So, Helena, if it's okay, I'll get you to read and answer the second prompt for the Laboratory of Hallucinations.
Okay, so that's describe Act 1, in which a mad scientist discovers his wife is having an affair with another man. Maybe sort of he's initially busy with his experiments, and she keeps going out shopping, and on the way back from the shops she pops into the neighbours because there's some young dashing, what do you call it, dandy. He's well just invites her in for a cup of tea, and then they get more friendly and they touch each other's hands, and then, you know, they go to the bedroom and all this sort of stuff. And he, when it's too late, he sort of sees him through the window, and he's sort of looking at his experiment, and then looking at her, and he's still torn between his failed relationship and his obsession. Nice.
Thank you. So, let's go back to the gallery where Ms. Reeves and Dr. Malik are watching a minor surgery. I guess quite a major surgery, actually. Ms. Reeves, you were just thinking about what outcome you wanted for the vulnerable move. So what did you decide?
So my idea was, like, maybe the photographs from the Whateley camera, they have essentially like lens flares, but they're kind of like wavy and in a weird shape. Mm-hmm. When the blood, you know, that's definitely not a symbol for anything, like splashed up onto the viewing glass and kind of like started to run down. It ran down in that exact same wavy shape that we were seeing through.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So do you want to just add that as a clue?
Yep.
And then, is there anything else that the two of you want to play out while you watch this surgery continue? Or would you like to move on to some other sort of scene?
I think like as everything is winding down, usually when Malik drags Miss Reeves to these things, it's just straight back to the house. But I think I actually turn to Miss Reeves and I say, Miss Reeves, I apologize for how distracted I've been as of late. I hope you understand that the work is just very important, but I regret keeping distant from you during that time. How have you been, Miss Reeves, since we last spoke?
And Miss Reeves will just be completely like, I mean, you know, you're a brilliant scientist. Your work takes precedence. It's, you know, you're going to be saving lives one of these days type thing. And it's just like gushing all that stuff. I've been trying to conduct myself in a manner that you would be proud of. I actually have something I would like to show you when we get back to Hargrave's house. Hopefully it's up to your impeccable standards. And then she'll kind of like pretty much talk about how like some of the stuff that's been going on and like pass it off as like, oh, it's no big deal, but you can tell like she's a little freaked out about like she'll talk about, you know, Jim Fletcher's kind of shown a bit of a more burly side to his personality. I'm not sure if you'll get a chance to meet that. There's been some unsanctioned redecorating within our house, which I'll be getting to the bottom of, and is just like glossing over all the like super traumatic stuff that's happened. Yeah.
So
you help patch up Helena. You could mention that as, you know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and she'll be like, you know, Helena's suffered, you know, some minor scratches and bruises, but you would be proud of. I'll sometimes assist with your projects, and you know, use some of what I saw. So she's right as rain.
Yeah, and I think Malik will look at you and say, Miss Reeves, there is very little you can do to ever disappoint me. I don't think you're quite capable of it, but... And then Malik like places a hand like near your hand, like not quite touching it, right? Very Victorian.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, but I do sense that there's more that you can't tell me, and when you're ready to speak of it, I am here to listen.
And as this conversation wraps up, so does the surgery. And the doctor, you know, takes his mask off to lecture some more about the procedure you've just seen, as do the sort of nursing staff. And you realise previously you've only seen him in his tweed suit, but one of the nurses who unmasks is Theodora Braithwaite's servant, Mr. Higgins. And he is clearly observing the two of you. But we'll follow that up later. Let's take our first break.
Oh,
here.
wait, can I?
Sorry, go on. Yeah.
But he's clearly watching us, right?
Well, he was involved in the surgery. You don't think he was watching you, but now he clearly is.
I think like I give him a show, right? I place a hand right by Miss Reeves' head by the glass, and I lean in very close to like look at him and just kind of like... Right. Anyway, that's all I wanted to do, just to throw him off.
Nice. The meaningful eye contact, and we'll take our break here. So let's just come back at about 9 minutes past the hour. All right. Are we all ready to continue? Cool. So, Helena, what do you do after D.I. Pettigrew's office?
I'm gonna go home and use the rods of salt and smoke. Just grab some rats from the cellar. Some of the fabric from the stuff in the new Sapphire Blue room, because I'm going to try and spy on Theodora Braithwaite, or at least her house, have a look, basically. So the stuff that they've put into our house, I'm using as a sympathetic link to help me spy on where it came from.
Okay, yeah, that works. Well, go ahead and roll with sensitivity.
I'm expecting this to go badly, but stuff it. Let's go. Yeah, okay, 10.
All right. And sorry, did you say that you were trying to scry on Theodora herself or her household, or?
Yeah, her household. So anything that interesting in the household, I guess.
Let's see. I mean, I think that what you see, so it's harder than you initially expected. You find that you're having to deal with some sort of mystical wards or barriers, that Theodora is not unprotected against this sort of thing.
I kind of expected that, but
yeah. But you rolled a hit, so you successfully navigate these wards. There's not that many people in London who could do that. And you feel this kind of veil, lifted away, and you are ready to see what you observe within Braithwaite Manor. But instead, you see Lady Braithwaite looking straight back at you.
Sweet.
And she says, "Have you come to dance again?"
That would be lovely. I'm just checking on those of interest.
I'm of interest to you. How lovely.
He'll, smile and say, it pays to be competent and navigate the dangers and curiosities of our modern life to keep track of interesting things in the city, as you're probably aware.
Yes. I find it somewhat inconvenient to have you present yourself in this fashion. If you want to see what I'm doing, let's just call it an open invitation. You may drop by Braithwaite Manor anytime, and I will receive you, as long as I'm not busy with other matters. We shan't have another ball for some time, but I'm sure there are other ways that I could entertain you.
I'm sure you could. That certainly sounds very inviting. And I also wanted to see, if I could, I figured you would have some measures of protection. So I was glad I was up to the challenge.
That's adorable.
All right. I look forward to seeing you sometime.
All right. You take care of yourself, Helena. Don't go poking your mystical nose in where it's not wanted. You may not be so lucky the next time.
I'll never do that. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Shit.
So, Jim Fletcher, Cyrus Abernathy looks a little annoyed by your question, and he starts to say, "Oh, of course, it's perfectly safe." And then he's cut off. He looks sharply at something behind you in the room. What do you do?
I'm going to turn around before I decide on whether I'm putting on a mask.
So you don't see anything? It's not obvious to you what he was looking at.
Are you all right there, sir?
I thought I saw something moving, but of course we're alone in here. And that's when you feel a huge rock crush the back of your head. So if you don't want to put a mask on, I'll get you to mark the condition.
Yeah. I'm going to mark the moss-covered gate.
Oh, so what does that do for you?
For me, that is narrate a scene in which you receive a letter from one of your parents urging you to return home. What does the letter say? Then tell the keeper to put the threat, the Pinkerton, in play.
Oh, yes. All right. So I'll have to check whether I need to do something immediately for the Pinkerton, as I do for some of those threats. But all right.
And I can. I'm going to save the letter until the dawn phase.
Yeah, please. That makes sense. All right. So that's a success with a complication.
Yeah.
So he will, with some annoyance say, yes, it's perfectly safe. Let me show you something. And if you allow it, he will lead you out of the American West room, further down the corridor. And the rooms start to take on stranger names. At first it's the jungle room, the old West room, things like that. But then it's, moving on through the Olympus room. And at the end of the hall, he opens the door marked the Astral Plane room and takes you into a strange room painted in dreamy greys and silver. And there are objects arranged all over that seem to be from another world or time. Could you describe one for us?
Oh man. I will also take suggestions if folks have ideas. I'm gonna say there's a bowl of fruit, and they're things that are like obviously fruit, like they're brightly colored, or they should be brightly colored. I guess they're sort of grayscaled out because it's the astral plane room. And I don't recognize the shapes of any of them, but they seem like fruit. Like they kind of fit the theme of fruit.
All right. And the clue that you get, because now you're on a 7 to 9 on the information move, is that there's also I should check how to pronounce these words before it's time to say them on camera. An orrery, is that right? An orrery depicting the 7 celestial realms. So, one of those things that sort of shows the relationship between different heavenly bodies.
Okay. Like a map?
A set of
Like a
spheres.
star?
No, more like an object. Hang on, I'll type the word into the chat. Yeah.
Like
The planets that spin around each other with orbits.
Exactly.
Got it.
So depicting the kind of concept, a kind of anachronistic version of that, even by the standards of Victorian London, like a medieval style depiction of the heavens in 3 dimensions.
Got it.
However, there is still going to be a complication or cost, and the complication or cost is that this time you also see this sudden movement in the corner of the room. And then you notice this small man, like half your size, this kind of very weathered old face and a red hat, leaping at you, leaping right at your head with a large rock held in his hand that he looks intent on braining you with. What do you do?
I mean, I think the instinct is to shoot him.
All right. Well, you can make the night move to do that. Name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve.
Oh, I'm gonna miss and he'll hit me.
Yeah, and I have to tell you how it's worse than you fear. Throwing a blank on how it's worse than getting hit in the head with a rock by a homicidal dwarf. Okay, it's worse than you fear because he's not the only one, and all of the other hunters will be similarly attacked.
Oh shit!
You can choose to back down or go through with it.
I mean, backing down is not defending myself. I don't think Jim Fletcher knows how to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think rolling with composure makes sense for this, but I think you have disadvantage from your drained condition.
That's fair. And because I get advantage from my gun, it is an even roll then.
Sure.
So composure. All right. Okay.
Nice.
13.
All right, you do what you intended or you hold steady, and the keeper will tell you some extra benefit or advantage you receive. Describe what it looks like. So we'll come back to that. We'll do some more unseen. But, if there's an extra benefit that you'd like in this scene, just think about what that might be. But before you do that, I'll get you to read and answer the next unseen prompt, please.
Next unseen prompt. Describe Act 2. Yeah, describe Act 2 in which the mad scientist kidnaps his wife's lover and uses an experimental technique to take over his mind. Outstanding. So I will say that the mad scientist makes a fake appointment at the tea shop with this man. And kind of does a bit of a stakeout and is able to abduct him on his way towards the tea shop. So before he gets there, and takes him into a kind of pre-prepared like lodging room, like just a kind of cheap nightly lodging room. And in there, I will say feeds him some sort of like chemical concoction, and then drinks it himself, and that allows him to kind of merge his mind with his wife's lover.
Nice. Incredible. All right. So let's go back to Dr. Malik and Ms. Reeves. Do you want to, do you want to continue the scene where you were? Do you want to move on somewhere else? What are you thinking of doing? Dr. Malik, you were pretty interested in Mr. Higgins there. Do you want to?
Oh yeah. So could I have like a review of who Mr. Higgins is again?
Yeah. So Mr. Higgins is one of Theodora Braithwaite's servants. I think we've previously just called him the man in the tweed suit, but he is actually Mr. Higgins. He was at the party. He seemed to be, pretty well aware of everything that was going on. I don't think you know that much about, what his deal is beyond that.
Yeah, I'm going to. I think I take Miss Reeves by the hand, and I move my way towards him to like confront him and like speak to him directly if he will stay where he is. Or
all right, so you sort of wind your way down the stairs as everyone's filtering out, and the various nurses and things are also filtering out of the theatre, so they are kind of in your way. But you can see that Mr. Higgins is at the far end of the hall, by a door that leads to probably a lane out the back. And you can see that he's talking to someone, but you can't quite see at first who that might be. As you sort of push your way down the hall, you see that he is talking to a short man, about half a normal man's height, with a very weathered face and a dark red hat. And what do you say? What do you do?
I think I'm trying to overhear their conversation. I think I'm trying to use the information move to try to see what information I can pick up between the two of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I tell Miss Reeves, like, we'll have to, like, I sort of apologize for being so familiar. We'll have to keep up the ruse a little bit. As I try to get closer to hear what they're saying.
Yeah, because I think, like, when this first starts and you, like, put your hand close to Miss Reeves, there was definitely a Victorian moment where, like, she starts to put her hand close and maybe even starts to inch out, like, her pinky finger, and then we see him and she, like, pulls it back, and that's when you, like, forcefully grab her hand and pulls her forward, so she's just a little blushing red right now, and is probably says something like, I mean, I don't know how believable of a ruse it would be that, someone like you would be interested, and then she kind of like looks down at you holding her hand. But if you think it'll get information,
I assure you, Miss Reeves, there is very little I have to do to convince people I'm interested in you.
Just blush all red.
So I think that because this isn't an active threat, it's probably not the information move, but I would get you to roll the night move to see if you can overhear what he's saying.
Makes sense. Okay.
So what are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve?
Ooh. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose this opportunity, right? It'll be harder for me to track him down in the future.
It is worse than you fear, because he is making arrangements. I don't have any good worse than you fears today. I feel like this is normally my favorite part. It's worse than you fear because if he sees that you're getting in his way, he's going to shoot you, or Miss Reeves.
I think that was good, Shane. Like you said, you could come up with anything, and now I'm gonna get shot.
Getting shot is the least exciting, worst way for things to be worse. Maybe it's all right. So you can choose to back down or go through with it.
I think I'm gonna go through with it. Yeah, this feels like composure, doesn't
I think
it?
so.
Like trying to steel myself, doesn't it? Right? Okay. I have so many tabs open. Okay.
Can I just ask in terms of like what's happening? Are you trying to overhear without him noticing, or are you okay with him knowing that you're listening?
Oh yeah, I really want him to not notice.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to let me look at my quickly if I can get an advantage. Let's see. I'm going to use the Onyx Signet Ring. I'm going to say that when there are people who see me like having it on my finger, and like I don't know what club that makes me appear to be, but someone recognizes, like several people recognize where the ring is supposed to be from, and they're sort of like gathering around me to sort of further shield me so that they don't see what's going on. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, here we go. Rolling 3 dice. I will just take the 2 highest.
Oh, lucky that you did.
Okay.
That's what, 8.
Okay.
So you do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. The keeper describes what it looks like. Well, let me just ask before we resolve this. Ms. Reeves, you're just kind of along for the ride at this point, or is there something in particular that you'd like to do in this scene?
I think she's trying to help set up the like subtlety aspect. So maybe she is like standing in front of Dr. Malik with her back to Mr. Higgins to make it look like Dr. Malik is just talking to her while like watching Dr. Higgins. And so that kind of exposes Miss Reeves' back in case like, any bad stuff happens.
All right. So we'll come back to that scene and find out exactly what you overhear. Helena, what do you do after your little conversation with Theodora?
I think I'll go to bed, but I've got my Othame with me because I'm half expecting Theodora to get some thugs to come around and kick the door in or something. So I'm sort of light sleeping and just, I'm scared but going to sleep.
All right.
I'm patting my cat. I've got my cat and my Othame,
All right. So Jim Fletcher, you do what you intended. You shoot the little man out of the air. He falls to the ground, crumpled and bleeding. I have an idea, but was there a particular extra benefit or advantage that you were hoping for?
I would like to impress Cyrus.
With the shot itself, or is there something that you want to do afterwards to impress him?
I'll say it's with the shooting. That seems appropriate here. Just like the quick reaction and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so as the smoke from the gun clears, you see that Cyrus is looking directly at you for the first time, and he's kind of holding his hand up in this gesture like he's framing a photograph, and he says, yes, I think that we would like to photograph you and your companions very much.
Oh, well then that's, we'd be mighty pleased with that situation. I think if you could come by tomorrow, we're over at Hargrave House. I don't know if I mentioned that.
He nods and he says, yes, we are familiar with Hargrave House. And he reaches up, and you hadn't noticed before, but there's a rope that dangles from the ceiling, and he uses it to ring a little bell. And the servant boy that you saw before in the loincloth comes in and just quietly and calmly starts clearing away the dead body that's lying on the ground. Let's have our last unseen prompt then. So, Ms. Reeves, could you do our 4th unseen prompt, please?
Yeah. So, describe Act 3 in which the enthralled man manages to turn on the mad scientist and destroy him. The final scene should be very bloody. Let's see. How was it established that he started the courtship with the wife? Was it over tea?
I think so.
Okay. I think so you see a scene of basically the enthralled man kind of in the mad scientist's laboratory, kind of shackled up and stuff. And you see scenes of the man kind of out with his wife using the knowledge that he got from the enthralled man to impress the wife and, reignite the spark and that sort of thing. And as the scientist comes back, he has the wife's favorite tea that he sets down, and just that smells enough to kind of reignite the enthralled man. And then it's a very overly dramatic, overly kitschy kind of play performance where he breaks out of his chains while doing so, like tears off his shirt, and it's all like overly done, probably screams like Stella or something. And they have like the play attendants in the all black like run out on stage with the red scarves to simulate like theatrical blood, and they're just kind of like throwing scarves up in the air as it shows them struggling. And then like the camera pans to the crowd, and there's, you know, Victorian people all aghast, and you don't see what's happening on stage. You just see like red scarves fly over their face as they like put a hand to their mouth and like hold up their little theater glasses.
Sorry, I'm just going to deal with that smoke alarm.
Uh-oh.
I hope there's no real smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds a lot like mine. I got real nervous.
Sorry about that.
I also panicked a bit.
It's all fine. Just some smoky eggs, I think. Sorry, that was quite a dramatic disruption.
Thank you.
All right.
Very good.
So, Dr. Malik and Miss Reeves, you get close enough to overhear what Mr. Higgins is saying to this little man. And you hear him saying, "So, Sir Richard is dead then? Very good, very good." And he takes an envelope out of his jacket and passes it to the little man. And he says, "There'll be more of that for you all when you finish the rest of the list." And then that's the end of their conversation. And the little man turns and leaves, or turns to leave by the back door, unless either of you wants to intervene.
Should we go after the little man?
Yeah, I think so. He has a list, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, the only way to follow him is to walk right by Mr. Higgins. Maybe this is the complication or cost that came with the move.
I think there's a moment where Malik just sort of looks at Miss Reeves and says, like wordlessly, "I trust you to follow him, and I'm going to distract Mr. Higgins." I think the cost is we have to split up, right? If that makes sense, Shane, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because I don't think Reeves would have been at the ball, so like maybe he doesn't recognize me.
So what will Dr. Malik say to Mr. Higgins? Or otherwise do to distract him?
Oh, yeah, I'm just going to go into full doctor mode because Mr. Higgins was part of the surgery, right? So I'm just going to, talk about his technique. And I'm surprised that he decided to go with that particular incision instead of, very Twitter mansplaining, right? Like that kind of energy, right? Needlessly passive aggressive. So,
well, I think that I'm sure the surgeon would be very interested to hear your opinions of his techniques. And I think he will try and pass you off to the surgeon even. He will sort of lead you over and say, "Doctor, this is the Dr. Al-Kabir, I believe. He has some opinions about your surgical techniques that he would like to share."
Well, rather than opinions, I think that they're facts. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Higgins? And so I'm trying to drag Mr. Higgins into the conversation between the three of us.
All right. So maybe we'll come back to this, but I just want to find out. So, Miss Reeves, you sneak out the back door. You look out. You find yourself in a small alleyway, cobbled and dark. But you can just barely see through the darkness half a dozen identical small men with identical red hats. And the one who just left goes back to the others, shows them that he's holding the envelope, and then all six of them look back towards you. What do you do?
I think it's kind of like she's about to, go down the steps to follow them, sees that happen, and just complete deer in headlights, stops. And I think she'll try and pass off that like she's just a random spectator. She wasn't following them at all. So maybe pulls out like the pamphlet for the surgery that she was just at and like very exaggeratedly looks at it and like flips it over and, you know, pretends to look at it and glance out of the corner of her eye to see if they're going to come after her.
All right. So I think that you'll have to make the knight move to sort of play them off like this.
That's
so
fair.
what are you afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve?
She's afraid that she's a terrible liar and they'll see right through it and see her as a threat.
Yeah. I mean, it's worse than you fear because they'll also beat Dr. Malik to death. But go ahead and, well, if you want to go through with it, you don't have to. But you can roll with an appropriate ability.
Yeah.
I guess composure or maybe presence to sort of deceive them.
Yeah, I think composure kind of makes sense. Like, there's probably a close-up of Dr. Reeves' eyes as they're just like twitching back and forth between the brochure and the definitely not red caps. Let's see, that is an 8.
Right. So you do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. The keeper describes what it looks like. So, I mean, what do you do then? You convince them that they needn't be threatened by you right now. You can walk past them. You can go back inside. What?
I'm hoping to convince them that like she is just like a harmless, you know, pedestrian, and we'll kind of just ignore her so that she can observe him for a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess that they will sort of look up at you as you come out, decide that you're not important enough to worry about, and then one of them sort of displays the envelope that they got, and all 6 of them in unison sort of start to laugh this odd little cackly, high-pitched laugh, and then walk out of the alleyway together. Still just thinking about what the complication or cost will be. I think maybe you just end up with the condition unnerved. Something profoundly disturbing about the way they acted, the way they moved. Yeah. And that will end our night phase, and we will jump right back to a dawn phase. So, at the start of the dawn phase, you collect rewards if a threat was resolved. That isn't going to apply. But you can answer your dawn questions and mark new dawn questions if you want to change any of the optional ones. So just take a second to do that, and let us know if any of you are going to take an advance from marking your dawn questions.
Yeah, I am. I might just bump us to that, I think. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I'm going to put my composure up.
Does anyone else get an advance?
I do. I'm just trying to figure out. I think I'll just bump a stat also. Probably. I think I'll do composure as well.
Cool. All right. And next we resolve any playbook moves that are resolved during the dawn phase. So, does Reeves's memory as the servant trigger here, or is that only when you resolve a threat? I can't quite remember.
It is. I think it will trigger here. It's anytime after a night phase.
Yeah, right.
So, I think claiming a memento. So I think at some point in the scuffle of like the operating procedure stuff and everything going on, She snags the scalpel that was used to make the first incision on the cadaver for the date that they went on, and I think like very awkwardly like gives it to Dr. El Kabir, and doesn't like actually give it to him, just maybe like wraps it in some paper and says like, it's not as good as yours, but I thought it had it had significance or whatever, and just leaves it on his desk. So you can add it to your personal quarters, and since I gave it to another hunter, I mark XP. So it's a slightly bloodied scalpel.
Perfect.
Nice.
Perfect.
And Dr. Malik, very early in the morning, Harley White appears on your doorstep with a bag of a certain size. Unmistakable what it contains, but do you want to tell us a little about the head? What does the head look like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right. I think what happens is like slowly, very reverently, and like Malik is so excited that he doesn't even wait for Harley White to leave. Right. Just slowly starts to open up the bag, and I think we see like bits of blonde hair. I mean, considering it's just a head, the skin looks pretty good, I think. That there, even though there's no blood vessels actively, doing stuff under the skin. And like but the eyes are the wrong color, right? And Malik like sort of like makes this face of disappointment, like opens up the eyes and shakes his head. No, not quite this, my love, but everything else enough to work with. And you can see like Malik like lovingly touching the cheekbones, thinking about how he'll move certain things so it looks more like how it should look like.
And can I just ask, like just as a fictional thing, will Dr. Malik be able to like attempt to animate the child as soon as all the body parts are there? Does he need to wait for nightfall or a storm, or like what are the circumstances in which he can do this?
Yeah, I think he has to wait for nightfall. I think it's revealed why Malik has been working with this particular group. There's a collection of like mystical artifacts and junk that are like in the room that Malik believes he'll need to use in order to reanimate the child.
All right.
I'm just trying to remember this properly. Was this you're trying to bring back someone like your dead lover or something, or am I getting confused? So I'm wondering, do you have to wait for their birthday?
Oh, I like that. Maybe it's her birthday that's coming up. Yeah. Right.
I mean, if there's a particular date, it's going to be today or it's going to be imminent, because obviously we want to get to this in play. But yeah, maybe after dark, we'll see what happens. I think those are the only playbook moves that trigger during the dawn phase. Is that right? And Jim, you have a letter, I think.
I do. So I don't know if Reeves is responsible for collecting the mail, but I'm going to make that assumption a little bit. And so a letter arrives for a one Harrison Fletcher. That seems to only be viable for one location. And I'm imagining a bit of a scene where Jim like almost like gets ready to throw it in the fire without even reading it, but does take the time to open it and immediately recognizes his mother's handwriting. And it says, "Dear Harrison, we miss you terribly. We know that you had to take some time away from things because of the situation." And there's like an extra long gap there, and like the handwriting almost changes as if she was trying to find the word. But it is beyond time for you to return. Things have been sorted, and your father is quite ill, and so you need to take care of the house now. It is short and to the point, and the postmark is from some town that none of you have ever heard of in Rhode Island.
Nice. And how does Jim react to the letter?
After reading it, Jim does throw it in the fire and takes some time out in the gardens by himself.
So as you, stand in the gardens alone, one of the servants, I guess it's Norwich again, sort of clears his throat just behind you, and he says, "Sir, a man named Winslow Taggart called on Hargrave House looking for you while you were out last night. Mr. Taggart said he would try again later. I made some cursory inquiries, sir. I understand that Mr. Taggart works for the Pinkerton National Detective Agency, and, well, that he's been hired to bring you back to the United States. He left his card, which he offers to you, staying at the Langham Hotel in the West End. And Jim, you know Winslow Taggart by reputation as being ruthless and corrupt. What criminal scheme was he known to be involved in back home?"
Oh man. Let's say he runs illegal gambling establishments.
So you know he wouldn't come all the way to London just to collect a bounty. And you think that if you can figure out what shady angle he's working on the side, you might be able to confront him with it and pressure him to give up on the bounty rather than risk being exposed. So I've added the Pinkerton to our threats tab, except there's some weird formatting there. Let me just tidy that up. So the question is, what unsavoury scheme is Taggart pursuing while he's in London? And the opportunity is to resolve the threat by confronting him with his shady dealings and convincing him to leave. That's just complexity 4.
Great.
So we're in the day phase here. What do you all want to do today? I think I'd start by asking Jim, since you have this new concern.
Yeah. I will let my colleagues know that there's a situation from back home that seems to be poking its nose in our business, and I know we've got a lot going on here, but I may need to give it some attention for the next little while.
I take it you tell us about the photograph appointment this afternoon?
Oh, yeah, that too. Thank you.
Reeves will kind of pale a little bit when you use the phrase like poking its nose. And it's like, is this a threat you need our assistance with?
Not entirely sure, to be honest. Why don't I do a little bit of looking today, and when we collect ourselves this evening, I may let you know.
She kind of like breathes a sigh of relief that she won't be needed.
So does that mean that Jim Fletcher is going to go off to try and dig up some information about Taggart today?
I believe so.
All right. And what about the rest of you? Dr. Malik, you probably think that you might have an opportunity after dark to finally animate the child, but what does that mean for today?
Yeah. Oh, after dark. Yeah. So like later. Yeah, but I don't have the eyes yet. So I think there has to be a moment where, as I'm working on the child, I'd like it if Miss Reeves took a moment to assist me. But yeah.
So maybe that's where we'll start you for the day, in your lab with Miss Reeves, if that's all right with you, Joel, coming to visit.
Yeah. Because is this kind of like doing the preparatory, like stitching everything up and like getting it ready to go kind of. So I think there's probably a scene of like Miss Reeves is pretty much always very prompt whenever she knows Dr. Al-Kabir is going to be working in his lab, as far as like helping him get his scrubs on and stuff like that. And because of they're definitely not a date last night, and I swapped one of my questions. I think like as she helps put your scrubs on, she takes like a little bit too long of a time, like helping to smooth it out on your body and like make sure it's tied nicely, and admiring how like the scrubs hug your body just so, even though they're just like shapeless scrubs. And you kind of see like, you know, you have like the start of your child ready to go. But maybe because you said like the eyes weren't right, there's like some fabric kind of just like draped over the eyes. And Miss Reeves will say, you know, I know that you're very particular on the color of someone's eyes, and I don't know if these will be up to your exacting standards. And then pulls out from like behind her back, you know, like a jar with probably like formaldehyde or something in it, with like the eyes that she had legally acquired.
Yeah, and I think so there's like a shot, like Malik brings up the jar close to his face and the eye passes over his own eye, right? And he says, yes, this is Miss Reeves. Once again, you've outdone yourself. The perfect shade of hazel. Yes, exactly as I needed it. And so as I take up the gift, right, I also say, but it's true, Miss Reeves, I am quite particular about the specifics of such things, such as how your eyes are a deep shade of mahogany, most warm and inviting.
And she'll like avert her eyes at that, of course. And I think, like, I'm assuming there's probably a scene of like Miss Reeves, you know, taking the cloth off the head of the child or whatever, and like handing you the tools and that sort of thing for you to work on. And you can kind of see like the emotions going across her face, where like she kind of knows once this experiment is complete and works, because, you know, of course it's going to work. Dr. El-Kabir is a brilliant scientist. Like he won't have eyes for her anymore, and so it's a very like mournful, like she's kind of sadly handing you the tools and sadly holding the eyeballs open for you to like put the eyes in.
Oh my gosh. And I think that's when, because I should discuss a moment of a brief pleasant memory. I think while you're thinking that, right, there's a moment when the camera turns, and so we see the child is laid out on the slab, right? But as the camera goes behind Malik's head, it's Malik's lover like lying back on the bed, like his eyes open, looking at Malik, and the lover says, "How will I know that you'll only ever have eyes for me?" And Malik says, "My dear, you ask for too much, but I promise that I'll always love you."
Yeah. And does Dr. El-Kabir like unknowingly say that out loud to the child as like Miss Reeves is right there?
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna make it even worse. I'm gonna say like I say it out, I murmur it out loud, and for a moment you think I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you realize I'm talking to the child.
Yeah. And like Dr. El-Kabir probably doesn't see it, but like the audience sees just like the Hulk crush.
Well, I think that's the perfect place to take our next break, and then we'll come back and talk some more about what happens today. So let's come back about 4 minutes past the hour.
In the other game of the Between that I'm playing, the factotum is so completely different. Like they've done every dodgy thing under the sun, and there's sort of no romantic involvement with anybody. So it's great to see how different they are.
Uh-huh.
Did Jim want a hand doing stuff today, or did he sort of want to do stuff on his own?
I won't say no to help.
Oh, I'll come with them.
Oh, all right. Well, let's start with that scene then. So, are the two of you going to head straight to the hotel, or is there somewhere else that you want to go to investigate I've already forgotten his name. Mr. Taggart.
Mr. Taggart. I did make friends with the Detective Inspector Pettigrew. So maybe I'll pay him a quick visit, since I know Taggart's probably up to no good anyway.
All right. So you and Helena.
I'll just point out, I'm wearing an outfit head to toe as close to sapphire blue as I can possibly get.
Interesting. Like a dress, or what does the outfit look like?
Oh, it's like a hat with a ribbon and a long dress and gloves and the whole bit. Going to poke the bear, do it properly.
Well, you certainly draw a lot of attention from passers-by as you head towards Scotland Yard again. D.I. Pettigrew, apparently not in any more need of sleep than the rest of you, is at work and is certainly surprised to see Helena again so quickly. But, welcomes you both to his office, asks what he can do for you.
Well, good to see you again there. We're having on a little bit of different business. There's a man in town, another American, goes by the name of Taggart, and I've got reason to believe he might be engaged in some shady business, and I thought you all might like to know.
Quite incredible. I don't think I've ever been treated to such a procession of civilians just coming to my office to give me useful information. Whatever have I done to deserve such treats?
Well, us folk at Hargrave House just like to help the community.
Is this connected to the matter that we discussed last night?
I don't believe so. My outfit is, but I'm just trying to.
Your outfit is striking. Well, what can you tell me of this gentleman?
Well, I know him a little bit from my time in the States. He used to run some gambling situations, and he and I may have gotten tied up together here and there. And I was surprised to hear that he was all the way over here in London, and so I just know that he has a bit of a shady history. I wonder if it's even possible that you folks have looked into him yourselves already. Maybe he's raised some flags for you.
We'll go ahead and roll the information move. I guess with presence.
I was like, can I get presents for that?
Yeah.
Oof. Not doing well tonight.
I think that what he does, is that he looks at you and he says, well, as it happens, I've already had a visit from Mr. Taggart. He has shown me some evidence regarding, well, you, Mr. Fletcher. Some things that, well, some serious things. Let's leave it at that. Now, I understand Mr. Taggart wants you to go back to America with him, and now that I've seen this information, I have to say I think that's an excellent idea. Why don't you head back home now?
I'm going to go ahead and use another mask.
All right.
I'm going to mark my next Mask of the Past, which is narrating a flashback to the time when the quickening curse caused you to hurt someone you care about. And so I will say we're back in the kind of the woods of the American Pacific Northwest with big tall trees, and as Mr. Fletcher and a male companion, maybe a friend, maybe more than a friend, it's kind of unclear from what we see here, are kind of camped out for the evening. And, the horses are tied up and it seems like they've just kind of finished. And as the companion goes off to relieve himself, Jim is unable to control his curse. and is totally dominated by the bear and chases off after his friend.
Nice.
The friend's status is unclear.
Wow. But we know that you hurt them.
Oh yes, we do see a bloody pause, let's say.
Yeah. All right. So in that case, D.I. Pettigrew will still say, that Taggart has visited, that he, tried to share some evidence about you. I sent him on. That's not really any of my concern. You probably want to watch out. Matter of fact, I was moved to look into this Mr. Taggart, see what all he was about. I don't know what sort of business the two of you are mixed up in, but I know that he's been meeting with representatives from a whole mess of different trade unions in and out of that hotel all day, just like a procession. So that's the clue that you get.
I'll thank him and try to tip my hat and realize I don't have my hat anymore.
But before you go, he'll also warn you. He says, I'm not the only officer that this Taggart has spoken to. He's been putting the word out around about you. You need to be careful because there's a lot of folks watching you right now. And I'll get you to mark the conditions suspicious. The police are interested in you. Helena, is there anything that you want to do or say while all of this goes on?
I'll just try and downplay anything Jim allegedly did and say, I've heard some dodgy things about this gambling guy. It wasn't just, gambling of cards. It was, dog fighting. It was people illegal boxing and all of it. It's just, this person only cares about money. And I thank him for his time.
Yeah. So, I think he'll say something like, well, look, I think that the three of us all know there are more important matters to attend to in London right now than some gambling, bare-knuckle boxing, what would you call him, so-called detective from America. Let's all keep focused on the things that really matter. And
couldn't agree more.
So I think that probably those scenes, we round out the stuff that happens in the morning, and we might skip ahead to the Society Obscura arriving at Hargrave House in the afternoon, unless there's other scenes that people were wanting to get to before that. Does anyone want to have a vulnerable move scene before we get to the Society, or what would you like to do?
I probably should. Yeah, why not? I will ask. Miss Henbury. Been feeling mighty out of sorts lately. I'm feeling a little bit exhausted. We haven't been getting much sleep, and feels like everybody's watching me a little bit. I know you.
I know that feeling well.
Yeah, I know you like to hide away for a little while to kind of recuperate. I wonder if we might be able to, lay low for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, we've got that photography shoot, so I don't know. Do we say when in the day? Maybe it's at dusk. I don't know.
Well, I think we agreed it was in the afternoon, but you've definitely got time to spend, an hour or two together and have some downtime.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that would be good. That would be interesting.
So
I think what I'm angling for there a little bit is using Helena's advice for the.
Oh, okay. I thought I thought you wanted to stop by somewhere and shoot things on the way home.
Yeah,
but, okay.
He wants to shoot something, but not guns this time.
Sure.
Shooting things is wildly vague.
All right. Yeah, that's fine.
So Helena maintains a private room at an opium den, I believe. Will you stop by there?
Yeah, that sounds good. It's part of the limehouse set up. And nothing
so
bad ever happened there, so...
That's right. Well, tell us about the intimate moment that you share.
Oh, they pass the pipe, I guess, and she'll sort of sit close and smile at him. And she said, well, after last time, things got strange, but kind of exciting as well. And that's why I bought these. And she'll kind of nod towards some handcuffs.
Well, I must say there are a couple times in my life where that might have come in handy. I think you all have seen kind of my little bit more of my situation than you had before, and most of the time I can stay in control. But there have been a few times where I just haven't. Sometimes it takes over me just completely, and there's one time things got real bad, but before that, I just had this moment where I woke up just completely covered in blood, and I had no idea what I'd done.
I'll say it's okay. You can't. It's not your fault. It's something you've had to learn to live with. I guess she'll pass the pipe and put the handcuffs on him if he's willing, and then she'll lean in to kiss him.
Sure.
And as this happens, will you stumble on a clue or invite the other hunter to ask you about your past?
Well, he kind of already talked about it, so we can say we've chosen that option.
You're happy with that? All right. Well, then we'll probably just fade to black on this scene, if that's okay for you both.
Yep.
All right. So back at Hargrave House in the sort of mid-afternoon, just about the time that you expect the Society Obscura to arrive. Miss Reeves, I feel like you're the more perceptive one here. Do you notice any tension between, anything strange about the energy between Helena and Jim Fletcher?
I think if she does, she probably just chalks it up to like her emotions still with like the scene she had with Malik. Like maybe like things didn't end as amicable between them as like one or the other things, and she just thinks she's projecting some of her like heartbreak and longing onto that, so she just kind of ignores it.
All right. So I guess that you assemble in the parlor, and after a few moments, the society, you hear the knock on the door, the servants, Norwich, ushers in the society. They are led by Periwinkle, who you met last night in his loincloth, now dressed in the tightest, sheerest suit imaginable, just barely presentable for London in daylight. He leads in Portia and Cyrus Abernathy. Cyrus dressed much as he was before in his very tight bodysuit. Portia wears a kind of semi-sheer black caftan with her hair braided up to look like a crown. She has this small, tight mouth, and as she comes in, she's just muttering or exclaiming about how she loves what you've done with the place. Look at how quaint everything is. What a delightful little, whatever that is. And they're followed by various members of the society who are kind of lugging the heavy equipment behind them. So the big cloth draped over a camera, the tripod, the lights, all these things that are required for taking this sort of old-fashioned photograph.
So there's like 12 people carrying all this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all sort of come on into the parlor. And Cyrus says, "Mr. Fletcher, a delight to see you again. Where shall we set things up? Where would you like to be photographed?"
Oh, well, I hadn't entirely thought about that. There's a lot of options here. We got this new blue room that might be nice.
Very well. Show us this blue room.
lead them to the. If
Yeah.
Reeves will allow it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Reeves, like, I think as you say that, you see like a blood vessel in her like forehead kind of pop, and then she's just like, right this way.
So as you head down the passageway, Miss Reeves, you'll feel suddenly a set of hands on your shoulders massaging quite nicely. And you hear Periwinkle say, I couldn't help but notice you look a little tense. If there's anything I can do to help you relax.
And I think there's like the most split second where she thinks it might be Dr. Al-Kabir and starts to lean into it. And then when Periwinkle talks, like just rigid and like even more tense before. And maybe it says like, just tries and like cuts off anything he's about to say. And it's like, well, thank you very much, sir. But I assure you, I am most relaxed as she like power walks forward in the most straight posture, like uncomfortable, everything, like very not relaxed at all.
Yeah. So you arrive in the Blue Room and they start to set things up. And you see them, they're setting up the photography equipment, but they also seem to have brought some quite strange and mysterious odds and ends that it's not really clear to you, maybe part of some set dressing or something like that.
Well, does any of it look like the sort of shit that I normally use?
I mean, some of it looks potentially occult to you. Some of it probably looks more like the sort of trappings of pseudo-occultists, fakes and hoaxes and scams, but some of it might have some legitimacy. So you all just have some time. You can talk to particular members of the society. You can investigate their equipment. I guess I'll just sort of go around and ask what each of you might be doing. Dr. Malik, is there anything in particular that you want to do here?
Yeah, I think I want to, because they're setting up the equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I want to like try to see if I can study the equipment, see if there's something that I can pick up that way, or any information I can find.
All right, well, go ahead and roll the information move.
Yeah, and I think I'm using reason because I'm trying to see if I can make sense of it. Okay, so let me make that roll. 12. Wow.
Nice. What do you get? Oh, that means you get a mastermind clue, doesn't it?
That's cool. Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's see. You are looking at the equipment that they've brought with them. And what will you find? I think that what you notice is there's all kinds of, like I said, there's kind of some strange objects around. You notice that one of the society members who's come in is wearing a monocle with a cracked lens. And at first that doesn't strike you as at all odd. But then you notice that they lay out on a little side table a magnifying glass, among other objects. And it also has a sort of matching cracked in the same way. And then they lay out a telescope, and the lens of the telescope is also cracked in an identical way. So that set of three identical cracks is your clue. We'll come back and I'll give you a mastermind clue a little later. But that's what you notice as you sort of examine the materials that they're laying out. Helena, what are you doing?
I'll just calmly walk over to... I presume we saw what happened to Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll just say to Jim, if that guy touches Reeves again, shoot him.
I think when I hear that, I go, touch Miss Reeves? Who? What? Like, because Malik had completely missed that happening.
It's all right, Jim. I'll just say it's all right. Jim's got it covered.
Does Miss Reeves hear you say this? I'm asking Helena, do you let Miss Reeves hear this?
Oh, yeah, I'm not being subtle because no one fucks with that Reeves. No way.
You want it? Do you want all of them to hear it as well, like the society?
Yeah.
Okay.
They can. make me the bad guy. I don't care.
So I think that Portia will just look over to you and you say, well, now, we're all here for a pleasant time. There's no need for anybody to be shooting anyone otherwise than with the camera. The Periwinkle, don't touch them. They don't seem interested. Periwinkle kind of sighs disappointedly and says, well, is there anything else that I can do for any of you?
And I'll just also stand outside.
Says, oh no, Portia, no. Periwinkle, fetch us some drinks. And you'll see that one of the things that they've brought with them is a case that opens into a quite elaborate liquor cabinet, and he starts to mix cocktails.
Yeah.
Helena, do you want to do anything by way of investigating, or are you more sort of suspiciously viewing the...
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on the people, because I don't trust these buggers now.
All right. Jim, what are you doing?
After that interaction, I'm gonna try to chat up Portia a little bit. I think we can kind of tone this down a little bit. Ms. Henbury there, she gets a little protective of folk, and your Periwinkle there was a little bit forward. So
yes, we like him that way.
No, I understand, and I appreciate that. Just you're in our home now, and it's polite to ask first.
Quite, you're quite right. I apologize for any offense. It was not our intention.
That's all right. It doesn't have to get nothing has to get too serious here. But I was over at your society there yesterday, and we had the strangest occurrence. You're I'm sorry, I don't even know the relationship, but Cyrus, he was telling me something about parallel worlds, and I'm just wondering, did you ever experienced anything strange like that? We had almost like two things were happening at the same time.
Go ahead and roll the information move. I guess either with presence or maybe sensitivity, since you're asking about
it's
strange
sensitivity. I like that. Okay.
Nice.
Finally investigate something.
So she sort of is dismissive of what you have to say. She says, "Oh yeah, Cyrus is a wonderful man, but very interested in his parallel worlds theory. I don't really care for it myself. I don't believe. Well, what I believe is that there is only one world, only one truth, and that the camera sees it and reveals it. And many people don't like what they see in the image because they know it is the truth. So few can really stand the truth as it is revealed." As she says this to you, there is a kind of bird noise of some kind. And as you turn around, you see that one of the things that they've unloaded from their kind of caravan of belongings is a crystal cage holding an albino peacock. And that is the clue that you discover.
Okay.
Now, do you want to reply to her at all, or?
I will. When she kind of downplays Cyrus's theory, I'll just kind of give her a wink and a nod at that. But then when she mentions the truth in the camera, I'll just I haven't actually had my own photograph taken, but I imagine I can handle the truth.
All right. And Ms. Reeves, what do you do while all this is going on?
So my initial plan was to that she would basically be bringing drinks, like maybe one of the other attendants brought drinks, and she would take the tray from them to bring drinks to the different groups to try and eavesdrop on anything that they might say without her realizing she's there. Mm-hmm. But I think she starts to do that, realizes the one guy is starting to serve drinks and kind of sighs a little bit, sets the tray down, takes all those drinks off, and goes over to the little makeshift bar to have him load up her tray with drinks, but very noticeably keeps a healthy space between her and him and just kind of holds the tray out even farther for him to put drinks on. And then we'll try and go and eavesdrop on people's conversations while handing out drinks.
Right. Well, do you want to roll the information move maybe with composure to kind of, sneak around unseen, or if there's a different ability that makes sense to you?
Composure makes perfect sense. So that is a 10 also.
Wow, you're all on fire for information right now. Let's see. Yeah. So a couple of the society members have largely stopped unpacking things. They've kind of stood back to just relax and watch at this point. And excuse me, they are talking about the Whateley camera, the camera that is here for this photograph today. And one of them is talking about hieroglyphs recently discovered in a pharaoh's tomb in Egypt that show the Whateley camera thousands of years ago, before the concept of photography even existed. And that is the clue that you discover. Yeah. And at that point, Cyrus calls out, "Well, I think we're ready. If you could all gather for your photograph, just over there. We've laid out some things. We'll arrange them. But please, do you take your...
I mean, we've laid out some things. I mean, they've got costumes and stuff just to wear or something, or like chairs to sit on, or...
I think there's a sapphire blue couch that you can all sit on already in the room. But I mean more that they've laid out, odd piles of books and abacuses, strange symbols. There is, of course, the albino peacock.
Yeah, I think Malik will, of course, stride to the middle, right, and take center stage in this photo as is appropriate.
All right. Will the rest of you gather on the couch as well?
Yeah, I think Reeves sits like, the dutiful right hand, like kind of very reserved and just very Victorian.
Nice.
If Jim's all right with it, I think Helena will kind of very recliningly sit against Jim and sort of glare a little bit at Portia.
I like it. Regardless of kind of how he's specifically arranged, Jim is taking up more space than he needs to.
So my gosh, properly, are you manspreading?
Yeah, properly like manspreading, like arms out, like on the back of the couch. Just taking up 3 people's worth of space.
All right. So the Cyrus positions himself under the sort of, the black, like cape-like thing that extends from the back of the camera, and he's talking to you about, you'll need to hold still for a few moments when you hear the camera go off, and he counts you in. I'll ask you all to smile on 1, 3.
I'm going to have my cat on my lap, because I've got a feeling I'm going to need his help.
I don't know why you would be concerned about this mysterious magical camera that causes people to disappear. Well, actually, that makes me think that Helena is perhaps going to need to roll the day move to find out what happens here, because you're doing something risky, you're facing something you fear.
Yep.
What are you afraid will happen?
I'm afraid we're all going to be whisked away to the Fragrant Void, or whatever the hell it's called.
All right. Well, roll with an appropriate ability, which I think would have to be composure or maybe sensitivity here.
I kind of want to fail, so I'm going to choose the lowest. It's composure.
Do you have any conditions that would cause you to roll with disadvantage?
Let's have a look. Arcane
No, we
Burn
might as well go in.
from the Coven.
Do you think that makes it harder to hold your composure?
Somehow that interferes its magic interferes with the camera's magic or something.
All right. Well, roll 3d6 plus composure, and we'll take the lowest two.
Oh dear, this is such a bad idea. I'm gonna blame Joel. No, it's not his fault. All right. Oh, sweet.
No, it's a 6.
Winning.
All right. So there are a few things that happen as the camera goes off. The bang of flash powder, immediately followed by a brief sensation of floating. For a moment, you're sure that you can see Penelope Levy, the woman who went missing, reflected back at you in the camera lens. But just for a moment. And then suddenly, without warning, all of you are struck by a shower of sapphire rhinestones that are falling from the ceiling. Hundreds and hundreds raining down on everyone in the room. And that in itself is the mastermind clue that Dr. Malik earned earlier. There are sort of violent cries and gasps from the members of the society as this rain falls down on them. And Helena, you feel the void call out to you in this moment as the photograph is taken. And I would like you to mark the condition drawn to the void.
Goody. Okay.
It didn't quite open there, but you can feel that something was close, that the membrane between worlds was thin. And Cyrus yells out, "Well, what the hell is this? How am I supposed to, referring to the rhinestones that are still falling, how am I supposed to create art in such conditions?" Portia starts trying to calm him. The rain of rhinestones eventually comes to an end. What do you do?
Calm my cat down. It's probably a bit freaked out.
Probably is.
Yeah. I'll kind of interject and maybe this isn't going to work. You might need to come back another time, or maybe we need a different location in the future. But seems like we got some cleaning up to do.
Portia looks back at you and just says, "No, this is perfect."
Well, I'm willing to try again, but I'll sort of look at Reeves because.
So they spend some more time, if you'll allow it, taking your photographs among the glinting rhinestones. All of you probably, a little not hurt, but maybe slightly scratched or dinged up by the shower. When they're done, they start packing things away, and Portia offers to have Periwinkle help you clear away the rhinestones if you'd like. Ms. Reeves, will you take his help, or can the Hargrave House staff handle this?
I think she initially bristles at that and probably starts with we have one of the finest cleaning staff in the area, and then kind of, realizes she might get some information from him. And it's like, but an extra hand is always appreciated.
Okay. So Reeves sounds like Reeves going to talk to Periwinkle. Do any of the rest of you want to talk to anyone anymore, or look around anymore at the things that they've brought?
I just want to ask Portia, can we get that photo, can we basically put it on the front page of the Times or something? Can we pay to have that? This is Hargrave House. We're here to help you, sort of thing. Do they have contacts that could do that?
I don't imagine that they do. If you can afford to place an ad in the Times, then we can provide a copy of the photograph. But
all right, we'll send a copy to Theodore Braithwaite. Here's her address.
All right. is there a message that you'd like with the photograph?
Thinking of you.
All right. Dr. Malik, is there anything that you want to do here?
Yeah, I think I want to, like, so the sapphires are being cleaned up and like they're setting us up for another shot, right? Yeah, I think I want to try looking again, like seeing if there's like a pattern of some kind with like what they've set up for us, like the specific books, the occult stuff, like seeing if there's a new like bit of information or clue I could get that way. And it's like the Sherlock Holmes moment where I'm like studying things while I'm still sitting at the couch, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think you can definitely do that. Yeah, go ahead and roll the information move with reason.
Okay. So, ooh, 7.
All right. So I think that there is, you sort of divine a pattern in the way they've laid things out. I'm imagining those scenes in Sherlock Holmes type shows where, these sort of numbers appear, these images, floating in front of your eyes. You realize that there's a sort of mathematical logic to the way that they've laid things out in this room. And in fact, the way they've arranged things, this room, the photograph itself constitutes just a complex mathematical equation. So that's the clue that you get. There is also a knock on the door because you have a complication coming, but we'll come back to the knock on the door in a little bit. Jim, what do you do?
I think I'm good. I think I'm just gonna hang out and enjoy a drink and kind of let this all happen.
All right. And Miss Reeves, you were going to try and get some information out of Periwinkle, I think.
Yeah. If she can, like, because this is is this when they're like cleaning stuff up?
Sure.
Putting things away.
Mm-hmm.
I think she'll like intentionally, accidentally like put things back the wrong way while asking probing questions of like, oh, this seems expensive. Is this used in many shoots, or like what's the purpose of this? And like puts it back in the wrong spot to see if like how particular they are about it.
Oh, nice. We'll go ahead and roll the information move. I guess maybe reason or presence makes sense here.
Okay. I'll do reason. That is a 3.
All right. Well, this ties in nicely with the recent knock at the door. So as you put things back in the deliberately wrong way, Norwich arrives with the guest who has come to see you all. And Jim Fletcher, you recognise Mr. Taggart. You recognise the outline of the gun at his hip. And he says, well, now, Mr. Fletcher, it's time for you and I to have ourselves a little talk. And let's finish there for this week.
Nice.
So I'll just end the recording and then we'll do a quick round of stars and wishes, if that's okay.